If there's ever been a time to prioritise healthcare and well-being, it's now, as we grapple with the COVID-19 pandemic. Wendy Somers-Cox is a health expert, and let's speak to her about her experiences during the pandemic and what we need to be mindful of in terms of taking care of our bodies and minds. Wendy, it's good to see you this way. I joined you, about a week ago, bruised and battered like a lot of people, coming out of COVID. Tell us what you have been seeing in the last year or so, and the sort of symptoms that you're seeing people take on because of what we're going through.
Okay, good morning, Jane. Yes, I think the main things we're seeing an increase in is anxiety and depression. It's a very anxious time for most South Africans. There's other things to be anxious about, but I think COVID is the one they're most anxious about. And our research is showing us that because of this anxiety, people that have anxiety have very high levels of inflammation. So what we're trying to tell our guests is to try and reduce that inflammation. And there's many ways in which you can do that are quite simple and that everybody can actually do so that, they can try and make health their priority. I know there's supplements and that, and maybe we've got time to talk about that, but it would be just quite nice to talk about ways of dealing with the anxiety.
No, Wendy, that's very good. When I was there was a lady, I also gave up coffee, and I was feeling a little bit depressed and tired as the toxins work through your body. She was violently ill, so it really shows you how people are their nerves are shot, aren't they? They're suffering from this inflammation. And you were saying that it really is easy. There's several things that we've learned from COVID, like vitamin C and zinc. How important is it to keep topping up on things like that?
I think it's very important. The vitamin C, they're even advocating that you take 4,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day. It must be buffered and, a really good vitamin C. And then zinc up to 30 milligrams. And vitamin D is another one that's very, very important that maybe people forget about. So those ones are important. And the reason they're important is because when we're stressed, we excrete things like vitamin C, zinc, magnesium, and calcium. So when you take those, it does help to relieve the stress. And people mostly say when they take them that they're just much better able to cope. And we do see the results of that.
All right. So coupled with taking good supplements, how important is it to, not even in these times, but any time, how important is exercise and the sort of food we put into our body?
Yeah, it's very important, Jane. Exercise really affects the parasympathetic nervous system, and you want to offset your stress constantly because all stress impacts on the sympathetic nervous system. So we've got to try and do things that will impact on the other side so that, you don't ever get too stressed, because stress is cumulative, which a lot of people don't know. So, you just can't let the stress build up and build up, because then what happens is like the lady at Brookdale who gets so sick, she's probably didn't do too much to offset the stress. And of course, good nutrition and having things like, curcumin, turmeric, ginger, fatty fish, or an omega-3 will all help to bring down the inflammation, which will in turn help you to deal with the inflammation that's happening. Stress anyway causes inflammation in the body. So the less stress you have, the less inflammation you're going to find. And all disease thrives with inflammatory conditions, and 80% of all illnesses are stress-related. Those stats are incredible. They always I always am amazed by that.
Wendy, we're running out of time, but I want to ask very quickly. Something that you pointed out when I met you was how important relationships are. And I know it's something that many people have missed out on during the times of COVID, but just remind us why it's so important, the touch and the feel and the love.
Yeah, it's so important because we need, as human beings, to have social contact and hugs and everything else which we've missed out on. But also people are living with toxic relationships, which they maybe think they can deal with. But I really recommend counseling for any toxic relationship, and that will immediately lower your stress. So, it's the time to do it. Right now, because you're all living in such close proximity, and maybe those toxic relationships are just really being highlighted.
So we really need a holistic look at our life and also to get rid of sugar. Wendy, very good to talk to you. Thank you very much for that.